Hey everybody, we're back in the West Sacramento modeling project, and we're going to do another kit bash on a little taco stand that has a lot of architectural interest. This is Sal's West. It's a actually converted Dairy Queen from way back in the day that's had several add-ons and owner changes, etc. to the little interesting piece you see in the pictures here. The building is decorated by frescoes of Sacramento, sports figures, flowers, southwestern style animals, and it's a pretty charming building. Like the prototype, we're going to start with the vintage Dairy Queen building, and when I chose this building, my plan was only to make a representation, but looking back after the project's been completed, this could have been done almost exactly, perfectly kit bashed to the dimensions of the building. But I really didn't know that until I saw portions of the finished product on the layout, which you'll see a little bit later or in an upcoming video somewhere. So I'm going to start with the base, the roof, the wall sections, and not knowing what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. You see, I put a little piece of plastic on there to help me brainstorm the footprint of the building as I'm going to build it. The first and obvious change is the back of the building. So I went to my plastic supply and pulled out this scrap piece of brick and cut it to the approximate dimension of the back. Plus I gave myself some room for fudging around, so using this oversized piece of plastic to continue to figure out what dimensions of the outside building. So looking forward from where I am in construction in this video, at 187, I figured that the second little wall that you see in the background there is going to be too small to represent and be visible, because the trees that I built for the West Sacramento project, the drip line covers a lot of details that are just going to get lost. So we're going to simplify the building quite a bit, and you see I'm only going to do a single step here based on the white plastic underneath the base is where I'm originally thinking the plan was going to be at this point. You'll see later in this video how that plan changes, but what I'm right now is measuring off that little pony wall, and the offset will be the depth of the offset will be set by the door, and you'll see that also a little bit later in the video. You can see right here that I took one of my doors and I put it on a piece of plastic just for sizing to just kind of continue to feel the footprint of the building out. And there's that piece of plastic still under Plan A. Now that's the back end of the building that I cut down to size. You have the door and the little window. But you'll see here quickly that once I get that door mocked up, I see that I can use the windows on that building by making a single cut and letting people who look at the model look into the interior of the building.
So this is too wide. So we'll have to narrow this down. We have doors here.
So here I decided that this was a better representation of that door entryway, and you'll see that the amount of extra plastic I'll need for the base is fairly minimum where the state of planning is at the moment. So with the dimensions of the building coming clearer, I'm going to cut the height of the back wall down to size, and being that this is a thinner material, I'm going to take some extra plastic and double up the size, the thickness of that back so that I can get a larger mounting surface and more structural rigidity on that back wall, and I'll do that here in a little bit.
A little plastic bend right there, and I'm going to cut this right on that side of it.
So using some scrap L bracket, I taped the pieces together so that I can start doing some finish cutting here on all the sides of the building. So here's another angle on that front door and little short wall where I put the windows. This was clearly closed up at one time, obviously not as big as the opening right there, but it had been changed time and time again with other construction throughout over the years, and so given the small dimensions and the other considerations not shown here in this video about what's going on in the West Sacramento building, I just decided to keep those windows open for viewing the interior of the building. So with everything sized, it was time to get serious about doing the final matching. I diverged briefly to fit the roof, and all I'm doing here is cutting it in half in order to use the two pieces to further measure out the building dimensions so that I could see how the whole project would look once I got the four walls together. Being generally satisfied of the three walls with no further changes planned, I decided to start gluing the pieces permanently together and mounting the wall sections to the base. So here's where I'm doubling up the thickness of the back wall for strength, taking a piece of scrap plastic and then just mounting the two pieces together, then beveling the one side so at a 45 so that it'll mount cleanly to the wall section on what would be the west side. in order to right size the rearmost wall on the east side of the building, the kit had these frames for the glazing for the glass here, which had to be removed so that we could make an accurate cut where it was necessary in order to get everything the right size. So here we're going to knock a little bevel on where we just made the cut, and then we'll do a little bevel on the back wall again so the mating surfaces match up. And we'll start fiddling with the doorway. Now, my original plan to use a piece of plastic and to mount the door into the plastic was plan B, and now we're on to plan C. What I'm going to do here is that I figured out that if I just barely make that wall opening bigger than the door slightly, I can use a neat little trick to fit that door into that entry. What I did was went back to my scrap and got a couple pieces of L bracket, and if I glued those straight to the door, the opening there became the perfect size and gave me some surface to glue the wall and the door in, and it made the assembly of that little wall dead simple. Here I'm taking a little piece of plastic for the wall over the door, just finishing it up, and we're going to glue it between the two pieces of L, and then we'll just cut that door down to the right size, and bingo bango, worked out perfectly. And it also didn't have me extending the footprint of the building some fractional amount and dealing with all the structure that would have had to go along with that fabrication. The whole model now fits neatly on the supplied footprint of the kit floor. Fitting this door was a little bit of a fiddly process. The piece needed fractional depths of plastic shaved off, so it was shave some plastic, fit it, shave some plastic, fit it, and took a little while, but ultimately it fit perfectly, and it was the final piece of the exterior wall that went into place. So we have the 4 elevations complete and ready to go. And now through the end of the video, we'll focus a little attention on the top of the building. We're going to do a little bit of sizing here for the new dimensions of the building. And in doing so, we notice that the roof has these cast details to mount the kit along the roof line of the building, so that all this needs to be removed in order to get the roof fit properly, and so that we also have a flush surface to mount some plastic between the 2 roof sections in order to complete the roof at a later point of construction. And thank you very much for watching the video, everybody. Part 2 will be up in a few weeks, and where we'll be continuing the roof construction and starting to add scenic details. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment if you have anything. Somewhere down the line, I actually have a head-mounted camera unit now, so just got to run the video that I have right now and we'll get a better angle on some of these builds, and something to look forward to down the line. So in the meantime, have a great day, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.